Hello, and welcome to Chapter 21, Imperialism. So, in Chapter 19, I talked about some of the social changes that were going on in Europe. We saw in Chapter 20 some of the stuff that's also going on in the Americas, but let's talk about what's going on in the rest of the world, because, the rest of the world is a pretty big place. So, now that the European powers are up and industrialized and all that great stuff, they are also looking to expand outwards. So we talked about some of the North and South America colonization stuff, but they've, for the most part, been kicked out of those places. So now you have the beginning of Europeans getting involved in other countries' businesses in a very hardcore way. So, you have colonies in Africa. The French will take much of Western Africa, starting along the coast. The Portuguese, being the first to get into it in the colonialism thing, will take some of the coastal stuff like Angola and Mozambique. And so the big thing is there's a scramble for Africa. Everybody wants part of it, and there's some conflict over it. So that's Africa, and they are not there. There's a lot of atrocities that happened to the Africans during this time. The Herero massacre in German-controlled territory, the stuff Albert, King of the Belgians, was doing, or Leopold, King of the Belgians. Lots of stuff like that, and they're using these people to fuel this export economy, where the natives are producing some of the raw goods, say rubber or other, export products. They're sending them to Europe to refine and then making a lot of money off of it. So this also happens where the British will take over India, and they conquer the Mughal dynasty and what is now Pakistan and Burma. And then the French take over Indochina, and actually Persia stays independent by playing the Russians and the British off each other. Same as Thailand. We'll say Persia. They haven't called themselves Iran yet. And throughout all of this, there's different ways of administering colonial territories. There is direct rule, where you are directly controlling them, or indirect rule. In central India, the British allow some local Rajas, these local princes, to continue ruling their areas as long as, they pay tribute and stuff like that. So a more hands-off approach. Or there's more direct control that the French can do in Western Africa, just totally controlling every lever of power. Then there's also, are you going to approach this with an assimilationist or non-assimilationist policy? So are you going to, when you form a colony, are you going to assimilate them and have them speak your language and convert to your religion, or let them continue to have their cultures? And so that's kind of two dichotomies that play out throughout the colonial period. And then you have the Dutch in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, around there. And then we have the Boer War, which, we talked a little bit about, we talked about that a while ago, with the Dutch colonized the Cape, and then the British came. So now you have British South Africa, and the Dutch move up in the Great Trek, and then that's Oranje and Transvaal. And then the British find diamonds and other, precious metals and stuff in the Dutch areas, so they take that over too. And then eventually, after World War I, the British will be able to connect all of East Africa. All right, well, that's about it for colonialism. Just remember, it's pumping a lot of money into Europe, and it's leaving the local areas, not well off, and it's creating a global economy. All right, that's it for today. Thanks, and goodbye.